Hey everybody, Andrew Miney here, and today I want to talk to y'all a little bit about Texas rigs, specifically when to peg and when not to peg your bullet weight. Now, basically what it boils down to is the times that I'm going to peg my weight. Those times are going to be times when I'm trying to penetrate the cover. So if I'm flipping into heavy grass and I need that weight to pull the bait down in there, or if I'm flipping into thick brush, things like that. So if I need to penetrate the cover. The other thing is if I'm skipping my bait around docks and maybe overhanging trees and stuff like that. When I'm really trying to skip that bait up underneath of those things, I need that weight pegged to the bait so that it pulls the bait back in there. If you have it unpegged when you're trying to skip, you can still kind of do it, but it makes it a little sloppy. So that's kind of the gist of it. Now the other thing specifically I want to talk about is when I don't peg my weight. I'm going to show you a little something here. When I don't peg my weight, I'm putting a little bead on there, okay? I've had people ask about it a lot lately. You know, they have seen pictures of that little bead there that I put on there on social media and everything. And basically, I put that bead on there for a few reasons. This is kind of an old school thing. This is something that I picked up a long time ago as a teenager. In my mind, this bead does a few things. One, and the most obvious answer, is that it adds a little bit of a clicking noise. All right, so when I use tungsten weights most of the time. When that tungsten weight clacks against that bead, it makes a little bit of a click, and it just kind of draws the attention of that fish towards the bait. The other thing that the bead does is it adds a little bit of a flash, a little bit of color to it that draws the bass's attention to it as well. So both the clicking and with that color, I'm trying to draw the fish's attention to the bait. Now this last thing is something that I've never heard anybody talk about. This is something that I've just thought about in my own head. But basically, to me, if I were a fish and I was looking at this and I saw this worm and this weight in this bead, and as the bait is sinking, the weight and the bead have a tendency to detach from the worm and sink faster than that worm does, and are usually a few inches ahead of the worm as it sinks. Now in my mind, if I were a bass, I see this big worm and I see these two little things falling down in front of it, I'd think whatever this was, whether it's a worm, a brush hog, or a Texas rig fluke or whatever, I would think that it was following these two little things to eat them. And the fact that this bait is preoccupied with these little things, so he's not paying attention to what's going on around him. Bass seem to key in on that a lot. When they see something chasing something else, they know that that's an easy meal, because this is preoccupied with chasing whatever it is. And so that's why a lot of times you see, like on these A-rigs, you know, guys are throwing a big swim bait in the middle that trails behind all these other smaller swim baits, and they catch these big fish on that big swim bait because it looks like, you know, that bigger swim bait is chasing all these little shad or whatever, and those bass key in on that big swim bait. So it's the same kind of principle. In my mind, that's one of the things that it keys in on. So anytime that I can leave the bait unpegged, I want to, because I want to add that bead and leave it unpegged. So hopefully this tip with Texas rigs helps you catch a few more bass and helps you understand a little bit about when to peg and when not to peg your Texas rig.